Okay, dudes, on today's episode of P-Dubs Arcade Loft, we're going to take a look at the Arcade 1-Up Pac-Man Couchcade. This is an HDMI console box with 10 built-in Bandai Namco games, a lot of your Pac-Man and Galaga favorites, and it does come with a portable wireless Pac-Man control panel joystick with a beanbag bottom. Inside of the box, you do get your USB to micro USB cable. This is for powering the little yellow HDMI console. And of course, you get a little HDMI cable. This is about a 3-foot long HDMI cable to connect your little yellow console box to the television via the HDMI port. Previously, this was the same console box that was released with their Mega Man handhelds last year. It's the same box, so it has a port. Can we add our own games? We'll find out. Also, you get an instruction booklet that reminds you that you do need to bring your own batteries, 4 AAA batteries, to plug into the Pac-Man control panel itself for powering the Pac-Man control panel. Something to keep in mind there. As well as this instruction manual will show you how to pair the control panel to the console box, just in case it's not paired out of the box. My unit was paired directly out of the box. Once I turned everything on, everything was already connected. And you know me, when I review these things, we always look at the good and the bad. And taking a look at some of the good on here, when it comes to the control panel, no plexiglass overlay. That's right. The artwork on here is what I would consider to be one of your rub-resistant type vinyl graphic artwork. It feels exactly like the stuff you would get from like an arcadegraphics.com or others when it comes to having a control panel that you don't need a plexi on. The artwork feels and looks great. And I have to admit, I really like the wood finish with the, the Pac-Man Cabaret style design or feeling that they went with on this control panel. You do get your 2 start buttons for player 1, player 2. You do get your joystick. You do get 3 action buttons for playing the various games that are included on this console, your volume slider, and your power off button. The most unique feature about this control panel, or should I call it a wireless arcade joystick, that's essentially what it is the fact that it has this beanbag cushiony bottom for having this rest on your lap. You'll notice right there we had the micro USB port plus the LED light indicator ensuring your Bluetooth is connected. And on the other side, you do have your little access port where you can unscrew a Phillips screwdriver, get your 4 AAA batteries put in. And then right here, you can kind of see it's a little squishy. It's supposed to be a beanbag bottom. We're going to take this off, but just so you guys can see right here, it's not too bad. It's not too firm, it's not too soft, but it's definitely quite nice. Now, what's really nice is this little beanbag covering here. It's Velcroed on, so you can remove this, etc., to clean things off if you wanted. And here's the little beanbag that sits underneath the fabric cover. It's a very, very thin beanbag. There's honestly not a lot of beans in it, but it's just enough that when you kind of stretch and get everything fitted together around the rounded control panel, it does provide, I think, enough comfort. I mean, that thing is only about a third full of beans versus what you might think. I think if that thing was completely full of beans, the cover wouldn't fit around it. And with the cover and the beanbag removed, you'll see this is what the bottom of the control panel looks like. You'll be able to access it with a long screwdriver if you wanted to go in and upgrade your joystick and your buttons, which you're probably going to want to do. I mean, they're the pretty standard stock Arcade 1-Up buttons and joysticks in here. My initial test was connecting the HDMI console to this little monitor plus powering on the Pac-Man arcade stick. And sure enough, good news. Once I turned on the Pac-Man stick, it was automatically connected via Bluetooth to the HDMI console. I didn't have to connect it myself. But then again, if for some reason your unit does not connect, there are instructions in the manual that show you how to get that Bluetooth up and running. And just doing a quick test run of Pac-Man, the joystick was responding as it should. I didn't notice any kind of delays in the controls, etc. However, as always, whenever you're playing on any TV or monitor, make sure you have it set to game mode if it has it, to reduce input lag, delays, and latency. Here's a look at the one-page user interface. It does say Couchcade on the top right with a funny Couchcade logo. Unit does come with 10 games: Pac-Man, Pac-Mania, Mappy, New Rally X, Rolling Thunder, Galaga, Galaxian, Galaga 88, Dig Dug, Dig Dug 2. It's kind of hard to see because I think whoever designed this UI should have added a little bit of background underneath the font of the different settings, But it is nice to see that no matter what game you go to, you do have various dip switch settings to go to. We're not going to go through all of them. One dip switch setting I was hoping to see would be fast fire for Galaga, but that's not there, and neither is scan lines. No scan lines included at all on any of the games, plus we're missing fast fire for Galaga, but when it comes to, hey, if you want to adjust normal, easy mode, how many points to get bonus lives, and all that kinds of stuff, all those features are included. Now, all of these games are pretty much all vertical games, except Rolling Thunder, I believe, is a horizontal game on this particular console. So Arcade 1-Up has these games designed if you're playing them on a traditional television, and most televisions these days are 16:9. The games are in their proper aspect ratios, which is great, with black bars on the sides and bottom, but you do have an option to turn on the borders, which is what you see right here, and the borders will fill in those black spaces on either side of the game. Now, here's what's unfortunate. I absolutely love the fact that they included borders, but it is the exact same border for every single game on the console. It would have been nice if all 10 games each had their own unique border to really set it off and make it look like a bezel from like the original arcade. Why did Arcade 1-Up only go halfway on this feature is beyond me. Speaking of which, can we talk real quick about Rolling Thunder? This game is awesome! Overall, most of the games look and sound and play fairly well, even with wireless mode turned on, versus being wired to the HDMI console via the USB ports, etc. The one game that I noticed they had a little bit of issues on it was Pac-Mania. I noticed some screen tearing while playing this game, particularly when the character is moving up or down in a vertical or downwards direction. Moving side to side, the screen really doesn't do any kind of tearing, but when you're going north and south, up and down the maps, there's a little bit of screen tearing. Another game, when emulated by Arcade 1-Up, that usually has issues is Galaxian. On some units, there's some audio delay, but I really can't find it here myself. Okay, let's get to the fun part. Can you add and bring your own games to this HDMI console like you used to on the other HDMI consoles that Arcade 1-Up released just like this last year? So I went ahead and I plugged in a micro SD card. I named it Couchcade, and after I named it Couchcade in my PC, I went ahead and I created a folder labeled Game. And keep in mind, these are the same steps we followed to add new games to the prior HDMI console released by Arcade 1-Up. After you create your game folder in the root of the micro SD card, went ahead and created a new folder for NES. That way I could add some NES games on here, since we only have 3 action buttons on this control panel. Adding 2-button NES games would make sense, so now we have our NES folder. And what I'm going to do is drag from my other screen a few of my Nintendo carts that I managed to back up on my PC. A few Nintendo games for testing, we're going to throw those on here. So for the purpose of testing and education, I went ahead and I threw in a few arcade ROMs, some NES ROMs, and some Game Boy ROM files to see if we could get these launched on this console. And if you recall, once you just set up those folders and drop your ROMs in, all you had to do was then plug the micro SD into the HDMI console, into the micro SD port, and power up the device. And when the device powered up, it would enter a dual boot menu where you could choose to boot into the micro SD card contents or into the standard what comes out of the box through the HDMI console through Arcade 1-Up. You'll notice here when I turned it on, it did not happen. It just went straight to the Arcade 1-Up platform. So to make sure that my micro SD card wasn't broken or, corrupted, and to make sure that I set up the files correctly per the previous hack, I went ahead and I plugged it into the original HDMI console that came with those terrible handheld controllers last year from Arcade 1-Up powered up the HDMI console, and sure enough, it did enter the dual boot mode. Do you want to play off local storage or that micro SD card? Local storage is the console itself. So it does appear that the dual boot option that Arcade1Up had included previously, they've gotten rid of it, and we're not able to add more games easily to this console like the last one. But before we make our final opinion on this product, we gotta test it out in couch mode. It is a Couchcade after all. And I gotta tell you this much, with the soft, cushiony bottom and also having a rounded bottom, when it comes to playing on your lap, it is super, super comfy. Super enjoyable to play that way. Now, of course, because it's got that rounded bottom with a plushy beanbag on top of it, if you try to play it while you're, kind of have it on a tabletop, etc., it's gonna be a little weeble wobbly. Definitely, this is meant to be something you play in your lap, that way it's not sliding and moving around. However, for $180, 10 games, despite a really cool control panel overlay that's not going to rub off, a super comfy bottom design, it's a micro HDMI console that only has 10 games on it, and 10 games that you've played a million times before on other devices. You could get much better stuff for this, such as Pandora's Box fight sticks, AtGames Legends Ultimate, Gamer Pro, Gamer Mini, more games, plus the ability to add and play thousands of other games, thousands of other ways, and get way more bang for your buck than this particular device. This particular device, in my opinion, is way overpriced at $180. It's just way too much money for what you're getting compared to what you can get for a similar cost out there on the marketplace. So for my final thoughts, is it worth it? Well, it's really nice that Arcade1Up conveniently attached a handle to this device so you can move it from one permanent storage location to another. In my opinion, purchasing this product is like throwing away money. And for $180, you could throw that at other products that do the same thing, but 100 times better for the same price, if not less. I definitely want to hear your guys' honest feedback, reactions, and thoughts below. Do me a favor, guys. Leave those comments as always. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up on the way out. And as always, my dudes, thank you for subscribing.